When we're talking about operator overloading, the first thing I want you to think about is what operators are. And well, you've used these before, so you kind of know what they are. So arithmetic, we have the equal sign, plus n. All these items are operators. Now notice they don't look like functions, but they really actually kind of are functions. So think of it this way, is that we have the equal sign here and we have a plus here. Think of this as basically using, well, it's passing in one variable, passing in another, and then it's going to return an integer. Same idea. Plus plus, think of it as in passing in a variable, then incrementing it and going from there. And I know it's direct access here, that's why it's a void. And then our equal sign I talked about earlier, think of it as basically A is giving the value to D, and that's why we have a constant in front of it, because we don't want the A's value to change. They are very, very similar to the functions that you and I actually know and love. Now, here's where things, they're not one-to-one. Let's put it this way. Like for this one, we have an integer, two integers, I and j, and then we have a string s. I++ matches the plus plus operator for the arguments of an integer. But the bad part is that here I'm trying to increment a string. There's no match for that. Frankly, also logically doesn't make sense. So there's going to be some things that don't match up one-to-one, like an addition. For an addition in two strings is actually concatenation. You wouldn't obviously have a concatenation of two integers. This would just be adding the two. But notice these operators are actually overloaded, especially this one here for the string. Because again, the original one was used for additions, floats, integers, all our basic data types. But this overloaded one is concatenating two strings. So we have some operator overloading that we're already using, we just didn't know. So in actuality, it's the same slide, but just one thing's crossed out. There's actually not an overload function for the plus because the two items that we have are primitive data types. But there is one for the string that I'm looking at right here. You're going to have some type of item where it's an overload, and notice the function name looks like literally the symbol of plus. There's still some more we're going to add to that here in a second. But again, it's accepting two strings and it's going to return a string. So that's why this would work out in C++, but there's been some extra work to create this function in order to have the plus do concatenation in C++.